Stu, diving right into it. Panthers versus Texans this past Saturday. The Panthers on the losing end of the stick. But again, we don't really care too much about that. I just went back and looked through the official NFL highlights of the game, and I realized that Jake Plummer was in the game by like the 8-minute mark of the second quarter or something like that. So the game drastically turned before we even got to halftime, really. So your initial thoughts on what you watched or what bit you did see from Saturday, and are you as nervous as the rest of Panther Nation seems to be as I'm patrolling on social media?
Yeah, I mean, we would like to see our offense, our first team offense, our first team defense go out there and make a statement. And the statement that you want to see is, do we play fundamentally sound football? We didn't do those things, right? Penalties, not being able to convert on third downs. That is what we cannot happen. We cannot afford to have that happen. I think, out the gate, Bryce, scrambling out of scrambling out of the pocket there, early and often is something that we are so familiar seeing. And I think that's where people are scratching their heads and saying, hey, I thought we fixed this problem of our quarterback getting chased out of the pocket. And he did look a little rattled, right? Because obviously that's not what, you anticipate as a quarterback. You anticipate a clean pocket and being able to deliver the pill. That's what preseason's all for, right? It's about guys going out there, filling contact, taking on the contact and doing the hard things in conditions that are game environments. And they're a lot different than practice environments. I don't care how amped up practices can be with joint practices where, you're so tired of practicing against the guy that you've been practicing against since training or since OTAs. And now you get to see a different face. And, those practices can have all the right type of energy that you would want for your team to develop the chemistry, right? But there's nothing like game anticipated versions of going against another opponent. And we didn't have a good showing. JT Sanders right across the middle. Bryce put it right there right on target. He dropped it. Stuff like that, right? We can't have our playmakers not making plays. And I'm not concerned because Bryce was doing his job. He was protecting the ball. Although that first outing, he threw a pick, and luckily there was a penalty and that got called back.
Yeah.
So there's hopefully that learning moment and learning opportunity for him to go back and address it in film and say, hey, I can't make that decision. I had whatever it was that made me throw that ball. I got to think differently. So the good thing is this preseason, and we're doing these things to learn. And if we go back and learn from the mistakes that have been created, we'll be okay. We have the playmakers. We have guys on offense. The biggest thing that I saw was the depth. And we talk about it, Desmond. We've been talking about it. We've been trying to be, the voice of Skylar Callahan here, which is being a realist as far as, hey, the next man up mentality. Who is that? Who is going to be the guy that steps in when Damian Lewis goes down, right? Because he didn't play. If that's the reason why we're saying, we didn't have our full starting lineup out there, and that's the reason why our running game wasn't really effective early and often because we couldn't be physical because we didn't have our starters out there, that's a problem for me. I would like to see the depth rise to the occasion. I would like to see the depth take on this moment of preseason and make a case for themselves. And we're not really seeing that across the board. There's certain players that stand out here and there, but they're guys that have been here, like Cade Mays, right? Like, I saw him last week, like on a screenplay that was actually a really good play. They ran a screen to the running back to the left, and he's downfield running after a guy, making blocks downfield. Those are effort plays. We shouldn't have to coach effort, right? We shouldn't have to coach be where you're supposed to be, right? That should come with being a professional athlete at this point. But O-line, for the most part, I'm not a skeptic. I would say that there's probably more communication issues that we don't see as fans. There's a lot of things that happen on the field. I mean, there's certain times where a quarterback might throw a pick and we're like, oh, that was a bad throw. It might have been the wrong route. There's a lot of the communication issues that you might see happen earlier for teams like the Carolina Panthers as they're figuring things out, figuring new teammates out. The chemistry is still there and is developing as good as it was last week when they played the Browns. It was completely opposite this week, right? And so they're still figuring things out. I don't think it's a talent issue. I think it's more of a communication thing. The run game just wasn't established early enough, which puts Bryce in a situation, right? Again, the run game is the best protection for the quarterback. But I mean, again, preseason tends to magnify the flaws. Texans look sharp. They look sharper than us.
They did. And, I was waiting for today so I could ask this question, a couple of these questions to you, because for me as the fan watching the game at home, and I actually watched the game live, it almost felt like the Panthers came into it with a specific game plan. They're going to get the first string lathered up a little bit on offense, but they never planned on playing them more than like a series or two to begin with. And then it felt like the original plan was to let Andy Dalton play most of the first half going into the third so they could evaluate the rest of the skill players they have on offense and to let second string defense play and all that kind of stuff. And what pushed the deal was Andy Dalton getting hurt in the game. So you have Jake Plummer in the game with like 8 minutes to go, like in the first quarter or something like that. Like he was in there super early and had to play out the rest of the game. And that messed up the evaluation because you can't really see, Jatavian Sanders or Leggett or McMillan or any of them with Plummer because it's not going to be that way in the regular season. It's not a proper evaluation. And they had to get away from that. Houston, people forgot too, Texans were the fifth ranked defense in the league last year. So it wasn't going to be easy just to come into Houston and just do whatever we wanted to do against them, especially with our first string not really playing. And I would imagine, Stu, you being a former first stringer, if you go into these preseason games like this, I'm sure they probably tell you ahead of time how long you're going to probably be out there. And Canales kind of said, well, they didn't earn enough. They didn't do enough to earn more time out there. And that's why he pulled them out.
Well, yeah. I mean, there comes a time and I think Coach Canales is betting more on the practice chemistry that he's seen throughout that week than this game situation, right? There's certain things that you can, gain from practice, especially if you're on offense. Did they run the right routes? Did they win the one-on-ones? Right? Those are things that you pay attention to in practice that can translate to the game. Because those happen more frequently and you can actually, create those moments in practice. Whereas in game, you can't necessarily say, hey, there's going to be a one-on-one here and this is how we can put our guy in position to win, right? A lot of things have to happen, such as conversions on first down, second down, third down, all those types of things have to happen for you to earn the reps. And I think what happened was they didn't earn the reps. They had 2 series. You guys need to go out there and give us an opportunity to showcase.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that. And so he pulled them. And I think it was the right decision. Is it something that is popular? No. I think everybody and their mama want to see their Carolina Panthers first team go out there and make a statement. But I think you got to be able to make the unemotional decision, which is protect your players, because depth is your issue. You cannot afford to get guys out there trying to, make a statement and prove a point, and then someone goes down in injury in preseason. Now you over here looking stank against the Jacksonville Jaguars because you want to make them, you want to prove to the world that you are a preseason hero.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. And look what Andy Dalton got hurt in this game. So now we're in a situation where they had to bring in
Bryce
Perkins. Is that
Bryce Perkins.
From
we're going to call him B2. B2.
Because and that could have easily been Bryce Young. And I'm not saying play scared, play as if you might get hurt. But
no, just play smart.
Play smart, yeah. So I don't mind them. Now, if they had been moving the ball a little bit and Canales yanked them, I would have been okay. I kind of would have wished to see them a little bit more. But they really weren't getting anything going. And
it was too stale.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, look, protect your players from each other. And that's the way that he coaches. He's obviously emotionally intelligent, so he understands his players. He understands his quarterback. And right now, I mean, especially with Damian Lewis out, you can't afford for another offensive lineman to get hurt at this point.
Exactly.
And so just keep the health and be confident in the practice that you had this week, which he actually stated in his press conference that he was pretty confident in how they were able to practice against the Texans last week in that joint practice.
That's what it kind of felt like too to me watching that game. It felt like Canales saw what he wanted to see during the practices during the week and didn't need to see any more from the first string. And they tried to use the rest of the game to evaluate the rest of the roster, the other 2/3 of the roster. But again, on offense, that fell apart when Andy Dalton went out. And then that made it worse for the defense because that made the defense out there longer. Derek Brown only played one series, basically. And when he played that series, they could not run the ball. When I was rewatching the highlights in the first half, when they were driving down the field, the Texans, they literally, when they got down towards the end zone, they just kept running in the middle of the line where Derek Brown would have been. Like they knew exactly where he was, and he was on the bench. So they were like,
all right, he's gone. So let's go ahead and
Nick
let's
Chubb,
go ahead and make this thing go.
Nick Chubb, big gap, just over and over and over and over until they got down the field.
Shout out to Nick Chubb. Now I told you
he's doing it, man. He was doing
back.
his thing. Yeah,
that boy is. Hey, if you are a kid out there or a football player that's discouraged about your injuries and coming back from injury, follow Nick Chubb.
Yeah, because
he is he's doing all the things the right way, keeping his head down, staying quiet, and just putting in the work. So hopefully much success to him, just not against us.
So before we leave that game, though, we do need to go to the Panthers injury report. I would imagine because Andy Dalton again injured. I didn't see the play where he hurt.
So this is what happened. So it was actually a play where I'm just like, yeah, go ahead and pull these guys out. Because Dalton was about to hit T-Mac for a double move.
Yes.
Up the sideline there, and the tackle gets beat on the edge, and he gets caught in throwing motion, looked like his elbow or something, and then the ball kind of fluttered out, and it was like a weird pass, and obviously he got hit there, and we can't get beat on the edge. We have to make sure we're protecting the quarterback, and we got to get those plays off. Like T-Mac was open. He was
that was one of the plays you were just talking about where, did you run the route right? How did you get separated? Like he was a couple of steps ahead of the dude. Yeah. So I remember that play, and it kind of did this.
Just sailed on him and then died like a duck.
Yeah. that was one of those Andy Dalton type joint. We talked about it last week. Andy Dalton's the type of guy in the preseason, especially now he's at the end of his career. He knows his role in the team. He knows he's a mentor to Bryce. Preseason is this time to just go out there and just do what he gonna do. Like last week, he was smiling.
Let's go do what we gonna do, man. I'm gonna try to get you on this team. Just go make a play.
Go down the field, 40 yards on slam.
Just block your guy so that way I can just throw this dime.
Kill it.
For T-Mac, so that way people can be like, oh yeah, T-Mac.
Because he ain't gonna never play second and third string guys again for the rest of the year. If he comes in again, it's gonna be against live action first string guys, Jacksonville or whatever. So I mean, it's a situation for sure. And of course, them getting the guy from the UFL.
I'll tell you what I did enjoy seeing. ETN and Rico Dowdle. They were both in the game at the same time. And ETN caught a 7-yard little bubble route.
I know what you're talking
about. It was nice to see, the soon-to-be intricacies of utilizing our guys that can run the ball.
He ran a couple tackles on that play too, if I remember.
Yeah,
the sideline.
On the sideline.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good things that we were able to see, but it's just when you have to put it all into, motion, we have to be able to hit the ground and we have to get running. And for whatever reason, we hit the ground and we stayed still.
We do have an update talking on injuries of the team. For those that follow the team, you probably know outside linebacker Nick Scourton suffered a collapsed lung during last Thursday's joint practice with the Texans. He actually hit the practice field today in a limited capacity. He was seen jogging, even though it was pretty humid in Charlotte today. He didn't fully participate, but head coach Dave Canales said huge improvement, significant improvement. He was actually running today. They were monitoring him closely, checking his oxygen levels. Everything is like huge improvements. The guy's 20 years old, so he bounced back pretty quick, unquote. So that's good to hear. He will not play in Thursday night's preseason finale against the Pittsburgh Steelers. None of the starters will play in that game against the Steelers. And I imagine the Steelers aren't going to try Aaron Rodgers out there for game 3 of the preseason. Like, what are we talking about?
Aaron Rodgers. If I'm a betting man, which I am, Aaron Rodgers probably put in his contract like, hey, look,
don't
ask play, but I'm not playing preseason. No. If you ask me to play, you might as well just go ahead and throw that million.
He'll put on the jersey,
escalator in there.
I'll put on the jersey, no pads. I'll stand on the sideline with the clipboard and all the good. Yeah. I'll put in appearances, but I ain't playing until September, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a paid appearance for him.
Yeah. Speaking of betting, of course, FanDuel is our sponsor this year for Bleav and Panthers. We're so happy to have him here on the Bleav Podcast Network. And I found an interesting one here, Stu. We normally we do our division previews, and we'll probably do AFC 1 week, NFC 1 week in this little stretch when we don't have the preseason games. But I saw what they have up right now over at FanDuel is this NFL futures parlay, basically, I guess, where you take these 4 teams to win the NFC or the AFC in the 2025 season: Buffalo in the AFC East, Pittsburgh in the AFC North, Houston in the AFC South, Kansas City in the AFC West. It's at 3. Actually went up since I pulled up the page. It's at plus 3,061. Meaning, if you bet $10 on this particular parlay, you win $306.12. Is that something that might interest you? Is that something that might be intriguing to you? Because that looks, I don't know what the Pittsburgh one's the one that might mess it up, but
I mean, Aaron might get it right.
He might get it right. I don't know.
Aaron might get it right.
That's an interesting one too to look at, because it's like, yeah, Houston, I see it. Kansas City, we've learned not to bet against them. Buffalo's kind of ran the AFC East the past like 5 years. It's really that AFC North one that kind of makes you pause a little bit, but
I can actually ride with that.
I think I could too. I think because
Cincinnati, right? And Baltimore, right?
Right. Cleveland, but they got the quarterback situation going on.
Cleveland is.
Ain't more about them. Yeah,
we ain't hating on Cleveland. We want y'all to do Shador the right way. And Dylan Gabriel, make it work. So if they both can't be there, make them, make it work to where they in our situation.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Cincinnati and Baltimore, you can't. I mean, if I would take that bet, you know what I'm saying?
I think
because all you need is one thing to happen, which is Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah,
all that other stuff gonna happen. Yeah, look, this is how I feel. All the fans that are upset that the starters didn't have a good showing against the Houston Texans. You gotta let's just put this into perspective here. The Carolina Panthers played against and practiced against DeMeco Ryans' defense, Houston Texans, last week. They got some good burn. Okay. They came out flat in the game. Everyone knows that. But we got out of that game healthy. Let's just call that a win.
That's a win.
That's a win.
That's
a win, ladies and gentlemen. There's obviously some fine tuning that needs to happen. The philosophy, the attitude, want to be more physical, just across the board. Just play. I think our running backs showcased a lot. In my opinion, I think I got to see what Etienne was going to bring to the table. Got to see what Rico Dowdle was going to bring to the table. So I feel pretty happy about their outing and their opportunities, especially being in space. But now, the Steelers, we don't need to see our guys out there. This keeps Bryce healthy. It keeps our offensive line healthy, the starters anyway. We cannot afford to have guys go down. But what it does, it puts a spotlight, Desmond. I called you Dennis because I'm thinking about
I get Dennis. Actually.
but it puts the spotlight, Desmond, on the depth of our players that are fighting for a roster spot. And that's the real time. That's the real evaluation, right? It's the real deal opportunity to evaluate what you actually have as a team. You know what you have as far as your starters are. I mean, they didn't have to play a lick, and you kind of have a sense of what they are, right?
Yeah.
Because they were your guys majority of last year. And you just want to give them some confident reps. That's all what you want to do with this preseason stuff. The true evaluation starts this weekend. These guys that are on the bubble, these guys that have to make a mark, make a case, make a name for themselves. That's what this does. That's the pros of the starters sitting and their health. The cons is that now you have to wait to season one to bounce back if you're a starter. You know what I'm saying? you got a whole couple of weeks to showcase why that was a bad outing and why that's not going to be the customary thing that the fans should be expecting.
Let me ask you this real quick though. I remember when the Ravens had like this preseason win streak going on a couple years ago where they had won like 12 straight preseason games or something to that effect. Being on an NFL team, I know you said you had some seasons where you didn't play a lot preseason. You had some seasons where you did play in the preseason because you want to get lathered up or whatnot. How much does the preseason really carry over to week one of the regular season? Like, does it carry over at all? Like,
as far as wins,
yeah,
wins. As far as it's a culture thing for sure, right?
Yeah,
winning a football game, going out there and coming away victorious, that does a lot for your confidence, no matter who you are, right? But it's not it's not everything, right? It's not end all be all if you lose. The biggest thing that you want to walk away from if you're a starter is confidence. I'm confident in my offensive line. I'm confident in the play calling. My offensive coordinator knows where I fit in his scheme. If I'm on defense, I understand what it sounds like to hear guys talk on defense. I understand to fill gaps and what it feels like to play with a guy alongside a guy, and building that trust. Right, to be able to fill a gap and be there on time to where guys can just do their job, right? Those are the types of things as far as confidence that you build when you are in this preseason mode. As far as winning a game and the carryover of it, it doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, shoot, because it doesn't count. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't count.
It's
and
still
we know it doesn't count.
So in
my mind as a football player, my mind is go in there, compete, do things the right way, don't get hurt, and don't play slow and sloppy to be in a situation to get someone else hurt.
Right.
Because that's the name of the game. Play like a professional, prepare like a professional, practice like a professional, and get on about your business.
It's kind of I mean, it's kind of like the way right now high school football is about to start here in the Carolinas. Actually, this Friday is our opening week, so there's a lot of high school scrimmages and jamborees and stuff.
Yeah, we got our jamboree this weekend.
It's kind of like that. That's how I kind of equate NFL preseason, where yes, there's a scoreboard, yes, there's a camera, and they're watching it, and there's people in the stands, but in the end, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not going to think about the scrimmage you had in August when you're in the middle of a 14-14 tie in October, and it's not going to come to, like, it's not going to translate over. So I say this for all the Panther fans that are annually on the ledge because they're not seeing what they want to see in the product in the preseason, and like it's really hard to evaluate it like this because there's so many mismatched parts going in and out. You're playing some of your first string, you're playing like groups together. Your quarterback might not even play. If he's playing, he's playing for a little bit. Like it's
I got a stat for you. I got a stat for you.
Yeah.
History lesson, ladies and gentlemen. Pay close attention to what Desmond is really talking about here. 2021, the Detroit Lions went 0-3 in the preseason. Guess what? They started 3-0 in the regular season.
Yep.
2008, Lions went 4-0 in the preseason. 2008. They're like, oh man, this is the year. Yeah. Boy, they finished 0-16.
Yeah, they went over. Is that the year Dan Orlovsky ran out the end zone or whatever it was?
I don't know. But like, let that sink in. Okay. Whatever happens in preseason, don't worry about them wins and losses.
Don't worry about it.
Just look at the individuals on the field and their effort, and if they won their rep. and if they walked off the field healthy.
It's funny too, because this morning, all Get Up and First Take, all they could talk about was how good Caleb Williams looked in the Chicago Bears, and he was 8 for 9 for 100 something yards, and blah blah blah. I'm like, it's preseason.
Yeah,
it's preseason. Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
yeah, preseason doesn't predict records.
No,
but it does reveal habits, right? It does. It reveals habits.
I will agree with that. with that.
And right now, the habit for Carolina Panthers right now is to start slow.
And that's something I will say in terms of building confidence and stuff. Winning week 1 on the road in Jacksonville would be so much of a confidence booster for this group and this coaching staff, in my opinion, that could set the table for a lot of things. And I was on a pod earlier this week about the Panthers, and they brought up to me the whole similarities between 2015 and 2003 and this season in terms of the 3 things that have to happen for the Panthers to get to the Super Bowl. Ohio State has to win the national championship prior. Jennifer Lopez has to get divorced in the same year, which she did.
Mm-hmm.
And what was
the finalized?
Ben Affleck. Yeah, so she got divorced earlier. And then we open up the season versus Jacksonville. Like those 3 things at Jacksonville. Those 3 things happen. The past 2 times that happened, the Panthers went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what you need to be focused on. Don't worry about this preseason stuff. Don't worry about that. What he just talked about.
Yeah, look, that's what we need. We need that mojo. We're going to stop it right there. We will be back next week with a brand new episode brought to you by Bleav Podcast Networks and our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. We will talk to you guys next week. Keep pounding.